Fine. So what we're going to start is we are going to start economics with the concept of macroeconomics. We're going to cover the concept of GDP, gross domestic product. I think everyone would have heard this word GDP, gross domestic product. So it's actually gross domestic production. It's also called as product, but actually it's gross domestic production. So whatever production of product and services, not just product, services also. Like for example, a plumber will come to your house. He will not install any product. He will offer you a service. Wherever there's a leakage, he will stop that leakage. You go to a saloon. Saloon guy doesn't offer you any product. He does a hair cutting, which is a service. Teaching is a service. So basically, product and services which are being manufactured, which are being produced in a specific country during a specific year. I repeat, in a specific country and during a specific year. So let's talk about India and 2019. So whatever product and services which are manufactured within India in 2019, उस products का market value, that is उस product का prices, selling price, not the cost. I repeat, not the cost. The selling price, which is called as market value, which at which the customers purchase those products. So when you go to saloon, whatever price you pay to the hair cutter, that is the price. So those prices of the goods and the services produced in 2019 in India, they are counted in the GDP of India. So I use certain words. So let me just write about those words. And then I'm going to speak in detail about those. So I said market value, which is nothing but the prices of the goods which are being produced in the borders of India. So in India, in 2019, right? That is what would be the market values of goods and services produced. So goods and services produced. All right, in India in 2019 would be counted as GDP of India in 2019. All right. Few things. Number one is the market value of the goods and services produced. It's not the cost. However, there are certain products. There are certain products which are. There are certain products, or there are certain services जिसका market value available नहीं होता. Which are those services जिसका market value available नहीं होता? So, for example, I go to watch a movie. So, movie is a service. Movie is not a product. So, movie is a service. So, in that case, movie देखने के लिए price pay करना पड़ता है. So, movie ticket के service का price available है. If I go and go for a like hair salon, in that case, it's a service जिसका market value available है. You have to pay a price. But if I go to a police station for filing a case, does police charge me कि आपके केस का 100 रुपया हुआ? No. So police service is a service जिसमें you do not have to pay anything. I mean the other etc. payment I'm not talking about. I'm talking legally you're not required to pay anything. Similarly, if you go to a government hospital, there is no payment that you have to make. So the services that you get from the government hospital, no payments. So no price available. If you go to a government school, so there is no fees. So basically the services of the government school, there is no fee. But there is a cost of running a government school. There is a cost of running a police station. There is a cost of running of a government hospital. So services provided by police station, services provided by government hospitals, services provided by government school. These are the services and hence they should be counted in the GDP. I said GDP is the market values of goods and services. So these are the services, so they should be counted in the GDP. However, for these services which are offered by the government, there is no price available because government is not selling the services. They are offering the services for free. So there is no price available, and hence for these services are counted in the GDP at the cost of providing the services. So although I said market values of goods and services produced, but for the services given by the government, for the government offered services, we take them at the cost. So we take the cost of the services offered by the government, cost to the government. We don't have to incur the cost, it's a cost to the government. All right. Suppose घर पे पंखा नहीं चल रहा है, so there's a problem of the electricity of the electric fan at home. There are two ways in which I can solve this problem. First, call Urban Clap guy. So book a Urban Clap appointment, and Urban Clap guy will come repair the fan. Whatever is the cost required, he will ask me. I'll have to pay him, and the fan will run. All right. Second, okay, let's say the services, the fees charged by the Urban Clap guy to repair my electric fan is, let's say, 500 rupees. They're too expensive. The Urban Clap is quite expensive. They're good, but they're quite expensive. Okay, so I decided to be a little smart. I decided, okay, I'm an engineer. Before my CFA and MBA, I'm an engineer. So let me apply my engineering and try to repair the fan by myself. So I spent around 2-3 hours and repaired the fan by myself. And fan repair मैंने खुद किया, and उसके लिए और कुछ खर्चा नहीं हुआ. So there were no raw materials, there were nothing required. Some oil was required, which I put it from my own. So I didn't buy anything. So in this case, I saved my 500 rupees, which I could have called Urban Clap guy, and I would have paid him the 500 rupees. So here I saved my 500 rupees. So now, should this service which I provided to myself, I did provide a service to myself. Fan was not working, so I repaired the fan. So this service which I provided to myself, should it be counted in the GDP? Interesting. Should the service that you provide to yourself be counted in GDP? The answer is no. You cannot count the market values or the cost of the service that you provide to yourself, because you cannot charge money to yourself. Like Rajaram cannot put a bill to Rajaram that the services were priced at 500 and Rajaram cannot pay to Rajaram. So when you provide a service to yourself, you cannot bill yourself. And hence that service which you provide to yourself by repairing a fan by yourself, that will not be counted in the GDP of India. Yes, but अगर इस सर्विसिंग के टाइम कुछ अगर कुछ रॉ मटेरियल लगा था, कुछ बॉल बेरिंग लगा था, कुछ ऑयल लगा था, for that I went out and paid 50 rupees and bought that some raw materials, then that 50 rupees I didn't pay to myself. 50 rupees was paid to the shopkeeper. So that product would be counted in the GDP of India for the current year. All right. So that is another point. Next point is, suppose I buy a laptop. I buy 2 laptops. I buy one laptop from the Lenovo shop, and second I buy another laptop from OLX. Obviously OLX doesn't make a laptop, Lenovo makes a laptop. OLX where the laptop which I'm going to buy is going to be a second-hand laptop. So is second-hand laptop being freshly produced? No, the second-hand laptop is not freshly being produced. So in that case, the second-hand laptop ka jo repurchase hai, that will not be counted in the GDP of India. The GDP of India will only count the goods and the services, market value of the goods and the services which are being freshly produced. So the laptop which I purchased from the Lenovo, if that is freshly being produced, then us product ka jo market value hai, which I am paying to Lenovo, that will be counted in the GDP. So GDP would consider the new production of the goods, the secondary sell, the products which are being resold, that will not be counted in the GDP. So let me just write on the screen. The GDP would cover the new goods. The resale of the goods is not covered. So let me write that resale and cross it. The resale of the old goods will not be covered. So the old goods were already covered in the GDP when they were produced. So when the old goods were first time produced, they have been counted in the GDP at that time. So for example, OLX ka jo laptop tha, if that was produced in 2015, then it was already counted in GDP of 2015. So it will not be again counted in the GDP of 2019. All right. So let me just highlight the important words. New goods, services, market value, but in case of government services, we'll take it as cost. The services which are provided to yourself, self-service will not be counted in the GDP. All right, the cost or the market value of the self-service will not be counted in the GDP. And now comes a little important point. What if a particular product was produced in 2018 but was sold to the customer in 2019? So how do we account for this? I repeat, what if the product was produced in 2018 but was sold in 2019? So in which year GDP it should get counted? 2018 or 2019? Answer, what is the full form of GDP? Gross domestic production. So in which year the product was produced? 2018. And hence it should go in the GDP of 2018. It doesn't matter when the product got sold. What matters is when the product was produced. Product was produced in 2018 and hence it will get counted in GDP of 2018. But sir, if the product is not sold in 18, how will I get the market value? How will I get the selling price? You told us that GDP should be calculated based on the market values of the good produced. ये गुड 2018 में प्रोड्यूस हुआ है बट सेल तो नेक्स्ट ईयर हो रहा है तो नेक्स्ट ईयर का सेलिंग प्राइस मुझे अभी से कैसे पता चलेगा आई रिपीट ये प्रोडक्ट प्रोड्यूस अभी हुआ है बट सेल तो नेक्स्ट ईयर हो रहा है सो नेक्स्ट ईयर का जो सेलिंग प्राइस है वो मुझे अभी से कैसे पता चलेगा नहीं पता चलेगा हाउएवर यू नो व्हाट इज द मार्केट प्राइस ऑफ दैट लैपटॉप आप कोई यूनिक प्रोडक्ट तो क्रिएट नहीं कर रहे हो लैपटॉप इज अ जेनरिक प्रोडक्ट सो अदर लैपटॉप्स व्हिच आर बीइंग सोल्ड in 2018, you know their prices. So you would be counting the laptop which has been produced but unsold. That laptop would be counted in the GDP of India at the market prices of the other laptops which are being sold. Because the current laptop which is being produced, that is not being sold, so uska market price is not available. So what you will do is you will count the produced but unsold laptop in the GDP of India at the price of the other laptops, which are similar to that laptop. All right. So if the product is produced in 18 but sold in 19, it will not get counted in the GDP of 19 because it's gross domestic production. The production happened in 18, so it will get counted in the GDP of 18. All right. So GDP is considered to be a measure of economic activity. Why? Why GDP is a measure of economic activity? Answer is simple. Production chahiye. If you want to make production, for production you need labor. So if you need production, you need labor. So there will be a demand for the labor and there will be employment in the economy. Number two, if you want to make production, you need raw materials. So if you need raw material, there would be demand for the suppliers. Number three, if you want to make production, you will need machines. So there would be demand for L&T, there will be demand for whale to create the machines. Number four, if you need production, you will need machine, and for machine, you will need money. So there will be demand for SBI, ICICI, Punjab National Bank for granting the loans. Lot many things are dependent on production. If there is a production, there will be requirement of labor, there will be demand for the labor, there will be employment created in the economy. If there's a production, there will be demand for raw material. Raw material के बिना production नहीं हो सकता. So for the raw material demand, there would be demand for the suppliers. If there's a production, you need machines, so there will be demand for the machine providers like L&T, BHEL, etc. So those would be doing good. And if there is a production, there would be demand for the money, and here there will be demand for the loan, and here there will be demand for the banks. So banks will do well, the heavy machinery providers will do well, suppliers will do well, and laborers will do well in case the GDP is rising. So if the GDP is rising, laborers ka salary will go up, suppliers ka performance will go up, heavy machinery providers and banks ka performance will go up. So that is why it's called as the GDP is a measure of economic activity. What's covered in GDP? First, GDP is considered to be the market value, not the cost. If market is not available, then the cost. Market value of the new goods produced in a specific country in a specific time frame. For example, in India in 2019, new goods produced, resale not covered in GDP, self-service not covered in GDP. All right. And in case the market value is not available, especially for the government offered services like government hospital, government school, etc., then the cost of that service would be considered because market value is not available. And if a product is produced in X year and is sold in Y year, the production happened in X year. So the particular product which has been produced in X year would get counted in the GDP of that year when it was produced. Yes, the market value of that production will not be available because it has not been sold in that year. So you look at the similar products, uska market value say you estimate what would be the market value of this goods produced. Yeah, so that's the GDP. Over here, there's one important thing that you need to note, and that is कि GDP में production कहाँ हुआ है वो matter करता है, किसने किया वो matter नहीं करता. In the GDP calculation, the place of production matters. The identity of the producer does not matter. I'll explain. So for example, in TCS company, there are two employees. One is an Indian employee and one is a, let's say, an American employee who has been put to India on an on-site. US Indians go abroad, American has come here. Rare, but it's possible. So let's say American has been working in India, in Mumbai, and he is sitting beside an Indian. Both are producing in India. They both are offering a service in India. Because TCS is having office in Mumbai and they are sitting in Mumbai. Mumbai is a part of India, and hence they are working in India. So it would be counted in the GDP of India. All right. Doesn't matter whether the one person is Indian and the other person is American, doesn't matter. Both are working in India, so they will be their output, their whatever they are producing, whatever service they are offering, that will be counted in the GDP of India. Suppose I talk about Facebook company, which is a US headquartered company, and let's say Facebook has an office in New York. I'm not sure, but let's say Facebook has an office in New York. So let's say Pratik is put on an offsite to New York, and he's sitting beside American. So Pratik and an American guy are sitting in America, they are sitting in New York. So whatever efforts, whatever output the Pratik and that American would be doing would be conducted in America. So Pratik and that American output would be counted in GDP of America. It doesn't matter over here that the Pratik is Indian. He's working in America, and hence his output would be counted in the GDP of America. For GDP, what matters is the place of production. What does not matter is the nationality of the producer doesn't matter. I repeat, what matters is the place of production, the nationality doesn't matter. So Tata still has a Chorus plant in Europe. So whatever Chorus is manufacturing, although it's owned by an Indian company, but where is the production happening? It's Europe. Is going to be counted in the GDP of Europe, not GDP of India. Although it's owned by Tata Steel, which is an Indian company. The place of production is Europe, so it will get counted in the GDP of Europe. All right. All right. So how does that differ from gross national product? A gross national product is the production by the nation ke citizens as well as nation ka capital. So here the nationality will matter. So here it doesn't matter where you are working. What matters who you are. So if you are an Indian, your output will get counted in GNP of India, irrespective of whether you work in India or whether you work abroad. So over here, whether Pratik was working in Thane or whether Pratik was working in New York, irrespective of that, Pratik is an Indian. And because he's an Indian, his output will get counted in GNP of India. However, the difference is, had he worked in Thane, Thane is a part of India, so his output would have been counted in GDP of India. And if he works in New York, New York is a part of US, and hence his output would be counted in GDP of US. But irrespective of that, his nationality is Indian, so his output, whether it gets produced in America or whether it gets produced in Thane, it would be counted in the GNP of India. If I talk about that American who was working in TCS Mumbai office, he is an American. And hence his output would be counted in GNP of America. I repeat, he is an American, and hence his output, whatever work he does, us work ka market value would get counted in the GNP of America because he is an American. But now he's working in India and he's producing in India, and hence his output will get counted in the GDP of India. Had he worked in New York, then his output would have been produced in New York, and hence it would get counted in the GDP of New York. All right. Okay. Tata Motors had made an investment in Jaguar Land Rover. Okay. Jaguar Land Rover is a British company, but let's say they have a production plant in Japan. Okay. So understand, Jaguar Land Rover is a British company which is now owned by Tata Motors. Parent company India, subsidiary British, but production is happening in, say, Japan. I'm not sure about it. I'm just saying, assuming that production of Jaguar Land Rover is happening in Japan. Where is production happening? Japan. So it will get counted in GDP of Japan. I repeat, where is the production happening? Japan. And hence it will get counted in GDP of Japan. Alright, but production is owned by a British company, but that British company is now completely owned by an Indian company. So hence that production which is happening in Japan, although it's get counted in the GDP of Japan, but is actually owned by an Indian company, Tata Motors. And hence it will get counted in GNP of India. All right. Another example. Let's say Tata Consultancy Services, TCS, has an office in, let's say, France. Let's say Paris. So TCS has an office in Paris, France. So whatever production, TCS doesn't do any production, but okay, whatever production is happening in the Paris office of TCS, that would get counted in the GDP of France, because production is happening in Paris, which is in France. So that will get counted in the GDP of France. But this production is owned by whom? This production is owned by TCS. And what is TCS? It's an Indian company. So that will get counted in the GNP of India. Say Facebook, or let's say Google. So Google has an office in Bangalore. So whatever production is happening in Bangalore is happening in India. So that will get counted in the GDP of India. But production, although is happening in India and is getting counted in the GDP of India, is owned by whom? Facebook. And Facebook is an American company. So that gets counted in the GNP of America. So I'm going to ask some of you randomly. All right. I am an Indian and I'm working in Brazil. I am an Indian and I'm working in Brazil. Neha, who's GDP, who's GNP? Be attentive, guys. I'm an Indian working in Brazil.
GDP in Brazil and GNP India.
Why so?
Because the production is happening in Brazil and
I'm an Indian.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the reason I'm an Indian. So the nationality is India. So it will get counted in the GNP of India. Good. All right. So RK Finance Classes starts a branch in Pune. RK Finance Classes starts a branch in Pune. Yes, Pooja Shah. Who's GDP? Who's GNP? All right. No response from her. I'll pass it on.
No, I'm here. I'm sorry. I was unmute. Sorry.
All right. Sorry. So RK Finance Classes starts a branch in Pune.
Yeah, sir. So both GDP and GNP will be India only, because the product, the services and all what we are giving is India. So both of them should be
good. So the production is, I mean, not production over here. The service.
Yeah, I mean services.
Yeah. So services is being offered in Pune, and Pune is a part of India, so it will get counted in GDP of India. And RK Finance Classes is owned by Rajaram, who is Indian, and hence it will get counted in the GNP of India. So good. All right. I believe that should be a good discussion for GDP and GNP. I know you guys have some questions. You guys have raised hand. If there are a lot of questions and I get deviated, then could be a little bit of delay, but let me just ask you the questions quickly. If the questions requires a detailed explanation, maybe I will not take it right now. Go for it, Ekagra. Those are questions, please raise hand. Yeah, Ekagra, go on.
This was the earlier hand. Thanks.
All right, no problem. All right. Yes, Nihal.
Yeah, sir. So regarding the second-hand product sold, so I just want to know if product is refurbished totally and then it is sold. So is it going to count in GDP?
What do you mean by refurbished? Can you explain?
I mean, if a laptop, yeah, coloring and some parts have been purchased and put on laptop and then sold.
All right. So in that case, whatever refurbishment you do, whatever improvements you do, market values of that product gets improved. So for example, without improvement, without refurbishment, the market value was of that second-hand product was, let's say, 100,000. And after you do that coloring, after you do that some improvement, the market value increases to 150,000, which means that the improvement that you did to the product has a market value of 50,000. Without improvement, 100,000 was the value of the product. With improvement, 150,000 becomes the value of the product. So 50,000 is the market value of the improvements that you did. So only 50,000 would be counted in the GDP because the improvement were done this year. Product was previously made. So the product is already counted in the GDP in that year. In this year, you did improvement only. So only the market value of improvements will get covered in the GDP of the current year. Yes, Pratik.
Hello, sir. So you were saying earlier that if GDP is rising, that basically translates that there are good employment opportunities and there is a good demand of things. People are spending, bank is granting loans. So there has to be some sort of correlation in terms of GDP increase and the interest rate at which bank is granting the loans. So would it be fair for me to assume that if GDP is rising and the interest rate is being offered at a lower rate, that basically means that we are towards kind of upward.
Can I take that a little later because that becomes a little intense discussions. Can I take that a little later because
okay, sure.
थोड़ा सा intense हो जाएगा discussion. I'll take that later.
I was not sure whether that question is
okay. You're free to ask question, but if it becomes a little intense, it becomes off the track. I'll take it later.
Sure. Fine.
Yes, Neha.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Neha.
So I want to ask about the laptop ka example which you gave. Like in the next, suppose I produced a laptop in 2018 and in 2019 I sold it at a loss or I didn't sold. Then what? It's included in 2000.
It was produced in 18. So if it was produced in 18, it will get counted in the GDP of 18. So if it happens that you had estimated the market value of the laptop as 50,000, and let's say in 2019 you sold it for 47,000. Right? Then the GDP of 18 would be revised downwards later on by 3,000.
And so like,
is that clear? I repeat.
Yeah, it's clear.
Produced in 18, you estimated market value of 50,000 and in 2019 you sold it for 47,000. So the GDP of 2018 will be revised downward by 3,000. And if you do not sell it in 2019, then you will have to watch out for the year when you're going to sell it. So if you're going to sell it in 2020 for let's say 30,000, then the GDP of 2018 will be revised downwards by 20,000.
Okay, there is one more question. Like how every quarter like factories or companies have to submit it with for the GST and something like. But how do they calculate? Like you have explained in FRA that we take the stock from the godown and then we sold it. So how can you say that it was produced in we say them it's a stock and this is the goods we have sold, this is the stock remaining of 2018 and 2019. So how do they calculate? Do they calculate stock plus?
Available with that, you can calculate when the product was produced. There's a batching, so there's a manufacture batch, etc. So it's possible to find out when the product was produced. Sell कब हुआ है तो easily find out कर सकते हैं because sell का bill होगा. But when the product is produced, at that time there is a batching system. So if you buy some product, तो package के ऊपर लिखा होगा batch when it was produced and the batch number.
Yeah.
So with that, the production could be tracked.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Yes, Riyans, quick questions. Maybe I'll take 2-3 questions here. Riyans?
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
So as you told that the GDP is counted on first 100 product, right?
No, not first 100 products. I didn't say that.
Like
first hand product. Yeah. First hand product. Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
Newly produced.
So newly produced. So what about gold, sir? Gold are resold. Like,
gold were already counted in the GDP of
gold
that they produced.
Sir, gold.
What
about gold?
Whatever is mined in the current year. So whatever gold is mined in the current year, so that would be counted in the GDP of current year.
Sir, but there are certain things which are not produced like frequently.
I'll take them separately because we are going in the unrelated.
Okay.
So let's stick focus to.
Okay. Sorry, sir.
No problem. All right. So if you believe that your questions which is kind of concept oriented and this, then I'll take it. Otherwise it's going to go on and on. So I'll take that maybe after 9:30. So hold on, keep raising hand, no problem. You guys, okay, you guys can raise hand later on. You can just take a note. Okay, I need to ask her about this doubt, and I'll answer it later on. Been around like 30 minutes approximately, no, 45 minutes approximately for this concept. All right, fine. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and see that how do you calculate GDP of India. So GDP could be calculated based on two things. Ek, directly look at the final product, uska market value. All right, so directly look at the final product, uska market value, and if, I mean, final product which has been produced in that particular year. So let's say I'm talking about this shirt. So if this shirt has been produced in the current year, what is the market value of this shirt? So let's say 1,000 rupees is the market value of this shirt. So GDP of India would count the manufactured shirt at 1,000 rupees. So this is called as final value. I mean, sorry, value of the final product. Shirt is the final product which consumer, that is me, is wearing. It's not an intermediate product. So value of the final product is one method of looking at GDP. Second method is you look at the way the shirt was produced. That is intermediate way the shirt was produced. So if you a little bit know about the shirt production method, so it starts with cotton. So in the farm, cotton gets produced. Then cotton gets spun into yarn. Spinning into yarn. Then yarn is weaved into fabric, so weaving. Then fabric ke upar ye orange color, ye white color would be dyed. So there's a dyeing. I don't know the spelling, not the dyeing, the dyeing of colors. And finally some stitching, etc., which the tailor does. Okay, and then finally comes your wholesaler. And then comes our final big bazaar or our Pantaloon, etc., retailer. After that, you pay that 1,000 rupees. So let's see what could be the value that would be generated at each stage. So farm में जो cotton produce हो रहा है, उस cotton का value शायद होगा 50 rupees. Not sure, I'm just guessing it. बाद में जो spinning हो रहा है mills में, there are spinning mills, उसमें जो spinning process हो रहा है, उसका value could be something like okay, I would put it like this, that the cotton would be procured by the spinning mills for 50 rupees. All right, so that's a purchase price for the spinning mills. Spinning mills will spin that, convert that into a yarn, and then will sell it for, let's say, 150 rupees. Okay, so spinning mill ka margin hai 100 rupiya. Okay. Then the weaving fabric, the weavers will purchase it for 150 rupees. So their purchase price would be 150 rupees, and then they will sell it for, let's say, 200 rupees. So weavers are having a profit margin of 50 rupees. Then dyers who will be dyeing the colors will purchase it for 200 rupees. Whatever the selling price for the weaving, that is the price at which the dyeing unit is buying it. And then let's say they're selling it for, let's say 350 rupees. So their profit margin is 150 rupees. Stitchers, that is the tailor, is buying the product from the dyers for a purchase price of 350 rupees. And let's say selling it for, let's say 400 rupees to the wholesaler. So 50 rupees margin for him. Wholesaler will buy it for 400 rupees and let's say sell it for, let's say 600 rupees or let's say 650 rupees. So their margin 250 rupees. And then the final Pantaloon has purchased it from wholesalers for 650 rupees and then they sold it to Rajaram Kamath for 1000 rupees. So the profit margin of Pantaloon is 350 rupees. So let's add all the profit margin. 350 rupees for Pantaloon, 250 rupees for the wholesaler. So that makes it 350 plus 250. That's 600. Plus 50 rupees of margin for stitchers, tailors, that's 650. 150 for dyers, that's 800. 50 for weavers, that's 850. 100 for spinners, that's 950. And then 50 rupees, which is the not the margin, because there could be some cost also. So let's say agriculture में water and chemicals जो लगता है उसका cost है 10 rupees. So the margin to the farmers is 40 rupees, and then the cost is 10 rupees. So basically cost plus margin, cost plus every stage ka margin. So this method and the other method results in the same answer. The market value method focuses on this 1,000. So the method which we had discussed earlier was based on the value of final product, which is one shot. The shirt was sold to Rajaram Kamath for 1,000 rupees. All right, one shot. And second is called as value sum of value generated at each step. All right. So first was the cost of the raw materials and the water and the pesticide, etc., which was 10 rupees. Then there was 40 rupees of margin which farmer charged. Okay. Then how much was it? Then 100 rupees was the margin in spinning department. So 100 rupees in spinning. Then will come weaving. Then will come dyeing. Then will come stitching. Then wholesaler and then retailers. ये सबका margin add करो, you will get 1,000 rupees. It's confirmed. 50 is the margin for weavers, 150 for dyers. Stitchers, 50, 250 and 350. So if you add it, you're going to get 1,000 rupees for sure. So whether you go by this method or you go by this method, the answer is going to be still same. However, the second method gives you even little more information that in this 1,000 rupees, सबसे ज़्यादा कौन value खा रहा है भी बोल सकते हो या फिर create कर रहा है बोल सकते हो. So the most of the value is being given over here to the retailers. So the retailers, that is Pantaloon, who is going to display that product, just display the product. And there will be some salesperson and there will be some awesome music going on. That is creating the most value to the customer. Customer is paying 350 rupees out of 1,000 rupees. That is 35% of the final value is being given to the retailer who is displaying that product in a kind of awesome format. That is where the customer is paying maximum for. The minimum is going to the farmer, just 40 rupees out of 1,000 rupees. That's just 4% given to the farmer and 35% is given to the Pantaloon. So over here, you get to know who has got what percentage of the GDP. So over here, you'll get to know each division where the product is being passing through has got what percentage of the final value. Although the answers would be same, but the data that you get in the second method is more informative as compared to the answer in the first method. Okay, so let's quickly take an example. Actually, ठीक है, जरूरत नहीं. I think this example could be good enough, comprehensive. So I'll tell you कि ये part कहाँ पर है. Then you can go through that part and you can see that example. All right. Any doubts in this example? Just raise hand, please. Yes, Ekagra. Any doubt in this example?
So I have a doubt in case of appreciable assets like real estate. If there is a production in particular year and a sale in particular year, and between the production and sale year, there is a price rise. So does the GDP keep on revising in such asset classes?
Yes, it does. It does. That's what I said to, I think Neha had asked this question. You estimate value of laptop 50,000 and next year, suppose you sell it for 40,000. So the GDP of the previous year will be revised downwards by 10,000. So in your example, let's say the flat was produced in 2015 and it got sold in 2020. So in 2015 it was produced, it will get counted in the GDP of 2015 and you have to estimate the price, and later on in 2020 whatever is the price at which you're going to sell, then that difference would be adjusted in the GDP of 2015.
And what is the upper limit of time period in terms of revision?
There is no upper limit.
Okay.
Obviously there is perishability of the products. Real estate is the only example where there will be no perishability of the product, but generally products are perishable. So the GDP will not be revised like after 20 years or something. Very few products are produced today and sold after 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
Fine. Any doubts in this example? I'm saying this example. Yeah, Dishan.
So these two methods you showed is the method for calculating GDP, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Jinil.
So I have a question. For example, say if there was some alteration created on at the end of the step and they charge something out here, then would that be added into the GDP or no?
So you're saying कि जो finally वो जो length कम करते हैं उसका market value.
हाँ, right. And उसके लिए they charge say for
example में आ जाएगा ना. अगर वो उसका charge करते हैं तो उसका और addition होगा. Otherwise वो retailer के 350 में आ जाएगा. If they are providing it free, then वो 350 rupees में उसमें आ जाएगा.
सर और एक एग्जांपल जो अभी पहले लिया था ज्वेलरी का, तो आई जस्ट वन क्वेश्चन लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल if मेरे पास गोल्ड भी पड़ा हुआ है and then I also have the diamonds, everything that I purchased before, and now I'm just reshaping it. तो उसके लिए for example,
that's what I think someone asked ना कि if you already have a product and then you are gonna make something out of it, then whatever are the making charges,
right?
Those making charges का जो value होगा that will be counted in the GDP of the current year. So for example, I purchased the gold in 2018. That does not mean that it will get counted in the GDP of 2018. Whenever the gold was mined, at that time के GDP में वो gold का price already आ चुका है. However, as who had asked this question, I think who had just asked the question of the real estate, Ekagra. So as Ekagra had asked this question कि वो real estate बाद में sell हुआ तो वैसे जो gold 2015 में mine हुआ था मैंने 2018 में purchase किया, तो what is the difference that get adjusted in the GDP of 15?
And that will be the current market value.
Then in 2020, I took that gold and making a jewelry out of it. So whatever is the addition which I'm making it to the gold, so that addition ka jo making charges hoga, that are being incurred in 2020. Jewelry is being made from gold in 2020. So the cost of making the jewelry would be counted in the GDP of 2020.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Yes, Aryan.
Yes, I wanted to ask, sir, like as you said, for calculating GDP, so there's a lot of data when you calculate GDP. Like many things are produced in all over the world. So my question was, so do they consider the population or they take out a sample out of it?
We'll talk about it later, but generally it's going to be considered as a complete population. They don't take it on a sampling basis. So GDP is not based on sampling; it's based on the complete population. But good question, but it's not based on sampling, it's based on population. All right, next question, next concept. So this GDP that we discuss could be measured based on two approaches. One approach is based on the spending, and second is based on the income. All right. So whatever I had just said over here, this all were the incomes. Income of farmer, income of spinners, income of weavers. So this is called as a GDP by income method. So this second method is called as GDP by income method. And this method where I went to the shop and spent 1,000 rupees. So this is called as GDP by spending method. So this one is called as GDP by spending method where I spent 1,000, I take it 1,000 rupees of goods produced and purchased. So that's 1,000 rupees GDP of India. Gets counted in GDP of India. And over here, 40 rupees of income to the farmer, 100 rupees of income to the spinners, 50 rupees to the weavers. So income of each and everyone gets added. Income of each and everyone who has made that product gets added. Okay. And to be specific, income of each and everyone who has made that particular process within India should get counted. So for example, for डाइंग के लिए ये हमने डाइंग के लिए इसको एक्सपोर्ट किया था यूएस में, तो ये वाला जो 150 है वो प्रोड्यूस हुआ है, वो कवर्ड हुआ है यूएस में. सो इन दैट केस दिस विल नॉट गेट काउंटेड इन जीडीपी ऑफ इंडिया, दिस विल गेट काउंटेड इन जीडीपी ऑफ यूएस. सो इन जीडीपी ऑफ इंडिया it will be only 850 and in GDP of US 150 would be counted. All right. Similarly over here, I will say that I have spent 1,000 rupees of product, but वो जो 1,000 rupees of product में जो कुछ material use किया है वो imported material है, and that imported material has been produced in US. So that particular production का जो market value है, income है, वो US वालों का income है. So that 150 would be reduced from this 1,000. I'll say 1,000 में से 150 is domestically produced. Atmanirbhar, that 150 is domestically produced. So that 1,000 में से 850 would be counted in the GDP of India, and 150 would be counted in the GDP of US. So basically, if I talk about this stylus, whatever parts of the stylus are being produced in India, uska market value gets counted in the GDP of India, and whatever parts are made in China, they get counted in the GDP of China. All right. Okay. So over here, I'm at GDP by spending and GDP by income. So in our example, let's say that everything was manufactured in India. All right. So all the products were manufactured in India, and I spent 1,000 rupees on that. Market value that consumer paid was 1,000 rupees. So GDP by spending, 1,000 rupees of spending, 1,000 rupees of consumption. All right. So that gets counted in the GDP. This is one method. Second method is the income of everyone, which I just said: income of spinners, income of weavers, farmers, dyers, etc., etc., etc. All right. So ये जो customer की हमने बात की, Rajaram Kamath, he has consumed the shirt. All right. What do you mean by consume the shirt? He will use the shirt generally for a period of 1 year. All right. Obviously, but there are some people who actually invest in the shirt. So they buy the shirt and they use it for like 10 years. So if you're going to use a particular product for more than 1 year, then it's generally called as investment. However, that's in a subject called as FRA. If you're going to use something only for 1 year, that's consumption. And if you're going to use something for multiple years, that's investment. However, in economics, the difference between consumption and investment is if whatever you're buying, if that is going to be simply used by you and that's going to generate no income, then that's consumption. That spending is consumption. And if you're going to buy something and based on that, you are going to generate some income, then that's investment. So for example, the mic which I have purchased, I have not consumed mic. I have invested in the mic because this mic is being used in the classes and hence it's contributing to the revenues of the classes. And hence it's an investment. Okay, by that logic, shirt should also be an investment because shirt is I'm wearing in the classes. So indirectly the shirt is contributing to the revenue of the classes. All right. So whatever accessories which are being used in the business, with shirt, mic, this pen, whatever accessories which is being used in the business, it's called as investments. All right. So technically, if I don't wear this shirt while taking a lecture, then it will be called consumption. And if I wear this shirt while taking a lecture, then this shirt would be investment because now this shirt would be providing me revenues because this is being used in taking lecture and hence that's a revenue generation activity. So this would be counted as investment. So the basic difference between consumption and investment is that particular spending going to generate some income. If no, it's consumption. If yes, it's investment. So if you go and if you go for a date with your girlfriend for a coffee, whatever money that you spent is a consumption. And if you go to CCD with a business partner for a deal, that's investment because that was a business meeting. Whatever money was spent was for a purpose of business deal. So that is an investment. And the previous example that if you go for a date, then there is no investment. So that's a consumption. There is no income being generated from that date. So because there's no income being generated from the date, so that's a consumption. So I hope you got a difference between consumption and investment. All right. So both will be counted in spending only. The spending which does not generate any income, that's consumption. And the spending that generates any income, that's investment. So shirt which I wear in taking lecture is an investment. And the shirt which I wear when I'm not taking lecture is a consumption. The coffee with your girlfriend is a consumption. Coffee with your business partner is an investment. All right. So these are the consumption and investment which we do. Apart from that, the government also, we had discussed that government also spends. The government spends money for running the hospitals. The government spends money for running the schools. Government spends money for running the Supreme Court, etc., 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 IAS officers, etc. So उसका जो cost होता है, उसका कोई market value नहीं होता, उसका जो cost होता है, so that is called as G, the government spending, cost of government spending. Alright, so that's called as G. By the consumption is called as C. So C, I, and G. All right. So consumption is that spending for which there's no income. There's no income generation. Investment is that spending for which there's an income generation. And government spending is that service which is not being sold, but there is a cost incurred in providing the service for the government. So cost of the government's provided service, let me write government provided service. All right, and इसमें अभी कुछ adjustment करना बाकी है. I'll tell you the adjustment. What is GDP? GDP is gross domestic production. Some of the production which happens within the borders of India does not get spent in India. It gets spent in US. I repeat, some of the production which is being done in India gets exported out and it gets spent in the Mall of New York. Okay, so let's say you go to New York and then you see an American buying a product of an Indian company. So let's say there is a Society Tika powder there, and American goes and buys a Society Tika powder. So Society Tea was exported to US, but where was it produced? It was produced in India. I repeat, it was produced in India. So the exported products are being sold in the foreign countries, but where are they being produced? They are being produced in India. So should they be counted in GDP of India? Yes or no in the chat section. Should they be counted in GDP of India? Yes or no? True. Yes, because they are being produced in India and hence they should be counted in the GDP of India. And hence we will count them. That's called as X. The exports are called as X. I repeat it one more time. There are certain products which are produced in India, but they do not get spent in India. They get exported and they get consumed in America. So whatever products that are exported in America, although they get consumed in America, but they are being produced in the borders of India. So they should get counted in the GDP of India. All right. What about this mic, which I have consumed, but this mic has not been produced in India. It has been produced in China. I repeat, I have purchased this mic from the markets of India. I repeat, I have purchased this mic from the market of India, but it was not manufactured within India. It was manufactured in China. So over here, the consumption which I did, this consumption of 1,000 rupees was for an imported product. I repeat, this consumption which I did, actually not consumption. I'm so sorry. What is the mic? What is mic? What is mic? Good, Ritvich. What is mic? Not consumption. It's an investment. Why? Because it's being used in a business where there is a income generation. So mic is the investment which is generating the income. So this would be counted over here. So mic would be counted over here. But unfortunately, this mic, which is the investment which I have purchased, has not been produced in India. It has been produced in China. So it should get counted in the GDP of China. It should not get counted in the GDP of India. And hence over here, we would be removing it. So we'll remove it. So we'll subtract the M. All right. So this is the GDP by spending method, CIGX minus M. Just write over here. The GDP by expenditure method, or also called as spending. Expenditure is nothing but spending. GDP by spending method is what you spend for your consumption where there is no income being generated based on that purchase. Investment, where there is a income being generated from that purchase, like a mic which produces income. Government spending ka cost plus exports. Why plus exports? Because exports are being produced in your country and hence it should get counted in the GDP of your country. And minus imports. Why minus imports? Because these are the products which are not manufactured by you and hence they are being subtracted. So this is called as the GDP by expenditure method. Yes, Aditya, your question please.
So I wanted to ask that if the product is produced in China and sold here, so sir, there is some amount of profit that would be gained by India as well. So it will come in India, it will be partially divided.
Yeah. So I didn't go into that complexity. So for example, if this product was purchased by an Indian company for 10,000 from a Chinese company, and then it was sold to me for 12,000. then 2000 is the income that a Indian company generated. So that 2000 will go in the GDP of India. But that 10,000 which was paid by the Indian company to Chinese company is the income of Chinese company. So that will go in the GDP of China.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got it.
Good. All right. So that was one method of calculating the GDP: C plus I plus G plus X minus M. C plus I plus G plus X minus M. All right. A second. I'm disabling Aditya. All right. This X minus M, by the way, is also called as net exports. This is also called as your trade account. Okay. So if X is more than M, then there are more export as compared to import. So this is called as trade surplus. Some people wrongly call it as current account surplus. I will discuss maybe today or tomorrow wala lecture mein ki what's the difference between trade surplus and current account surplus. And when X is less than M, that is imports are higher than the export. You import more, for that you have to pay foreign currency. So in that case, it's called as trade deficit. Some students, not just students, so many people call it as CAD, current account deficit. That's wrong. It's just a trade deficit. There's a difference between a current account deficit CAD and a trade deficit. If I get time today, I'll discuss that today. Otherwise, I'll discuss that in the coming lectures. So X minus M is called as net export. Okay, let's go back to the other method of getting the GDP. So here we are going to discuss the income. So we discuss the income of these guys, the farmer, the spinner, the weaver, etc. I can also discuss this as a income of the people which I had discussed. If you recollect, if there's a production, there will be a demand for laborers. So labor ka income. If there's a production, there will be demand for the raw materials. So supplier ka income. If there's a production, then there will be demand for the heavy machinery providers. So L&T ka income. Then bank ka interest income. Government ka tax income. And lastly, जो profit बचता है उसमें से shareholders का dividend income. All these incomes are added and then you calculate GDP. So that's called as GDP by income method, where जो production हो रहा है, whatever production is being happening, तो production के लिए जो contribute कर रहा है उस सारे लोगों का income. I repeat, you need to calculate the production, what is happening in the factory, and whoever is contributing to that production, whatever income is being taken by that particular factor of production. I use a little technical word. So labor is a factor of production, electricity is a factor of production. So whatever income is taken by the MSEB, whatever income is taken by the labor, that all income gets added, and then shareholder ka profit, also the company ka profit, that is called as GDP by income method. All right. So over here, what we're going to discuss is this income which either the labor is earning or the MSEB is earning, or let's say the bank is earning interest income. This income first will get taxed. So there'll be a tax. All right. So first this income will be taxed. So this income would be first taxed. So some component of the income would be paid to the government for tax. Like if I talk about labor income, so labor will have to first pay tax to the government. Next, जो बचता है, उसमें से some part he will consume and the other part he will save. I repeat, whatever income the labor is getting, not just labor, anyone, whatever income we get, some part of that gets taxed, and the remaining part either gets consumed and the remaining part gets saved. Okay. So basically, I'll just take these arrows like this. After paying tax, whatever income is remaining is called as after tax income. Us after tax income ka some percentage would be consumed and the remaining percentage would be saved. So let's say, for example, let's say I am talking about RIAL. So RIAL का after tax income का Rahel has a habit, let's say, of consuming 80% of her income and saving 20% of her income. So that 80% of her after tax income which she is consuming is called as marginal propensity to consume. And 20% of her after tax income which she is saving is called as marginal propensity to save. Propensity means desire. So she has a desire, propensity means desire. She has a desire to consume 80% of her after tax income. And she has a propensity means desire to save 20% of her income. Alright. What is marginal? We'll discuss that little later. Marginal matlab incremental income. So whatever incremental salary that she's getting. So I think salary would be due if I think, but she's not working right now, Rahel. She's a student. So some other time in the future when she starts work, when she gets the salary at the end of the month, that salary would be an incremental salary. So incremental salary ka first she will have to pay tax, and after that 80% is her desire to consume. That's MPC, marginal propensity to consume, and 20% would be her desire to save. So that's marginal propensity to save. All right. So basically this income gets converted as CST. So now I'll just mention over here the GDP by income method. That income would be either taxed, consumed, or saved. Now you may have a question ki what is the difference between saving and investment? Big difference. There's a big difference between saving and investment. I think you might have heard about this this common statement that the role of financial institution is to convert savings to investments. That's a common thing. I think everyone would have heard this statement. The basic role of a financial institution is to convert the savings into investments. What is savings and what is investments? Savings is what you and me from our income save. So whatever, let's say salary or whatever business income we have, of the salary, some part we save based on the marginal propensity to save. From the business income also, whatever part I have the propensity to save, I'll save that part. So where will you save that part? We can save that part, part of the income in locker or in wallet, etc. But if I put it in locker and wallet, that will not be available for the businesses to invest in their business, that is in their projects. So what is the role of banking system? Banking system should motivate you and me to move that money from the wallet and the locker into the bank saving account. If the bank saving account is offering 0.5% interest, then that's so motivating. Actually, that's so demotivating for me not to put that money from the wallet and the locker into the bank. 0.5% is such a motivating or a demotivating for me not to deposit the money in the bank. So let's say bank offers 4% saving account ka interest rate, which is motivated. I get motivation from that earning 4%. Locker mein or wallet mein kuch nahi mil raha hai, so at least I'll save in the bank where I'll get 4% interest. So now the money from the wallet and the locker for that greed or motivation of 4% went into a banking system. The bank would be now having that money, and that money would be loaned to the private businesses. Those businesses would take a loan from bank, and then that they will invest in the businesses. That is, they will invest in the machines or invest in the raw material, etc. I hope you got a difference between saving and the investment. Saving is what I deposited, I and you have deposited in the banking system. And investment is nothing but the loan that businesses took from a bank, and that money that they took as a loan from a bank, they invested in the projects of the company. All right. And this conversion of saving to investment is obviously a rule of banking system. Sometimes it may happen, listen to it carefully. Sometimes it may happen that we save a lot. But right now, जैसे businesses पूरे ठप हो चुके हैं, पूरे तो नहीं हुए अभी, but in the month of like April, May, June, they were kind of locked down. So in that case, no businesses were taking a loan. But there is a lot of savings that people are depositing in the bank. So bank is confused to whom to give a loan. So in this case, there is an excess of savings, and the businesses are not making any investments, so businesses are not taking loans from the bank. So in this case, the banks may consider giving a loan to a foreign business who may invest that money in the foreign project. So this domestic saving, which is not getting absorbed in the domestic investment, this will fly abroad. I repeat, this domestic savings, which could not get invested in the domestic investment because there was no demand because of lockdown, this will get invested in the foreign investment. Over here, domestic saving has gone out. Over here, the domestic saving has gone out. So this is called as capital account mein minus sign because money has gone out. We made investment abroad, so the money went out. So this is called as capital account mein negative sign. Outflow. Outflow means negative sign. All right. So I'll just write that on the screen. If there is an excess saving which cannot get absorbed in the investments, that is, savings is higher than investments, because investments के लिए demand होना चाहिए, and lockdown के time there was no demand. So in this case there was an excess saving. So that excess saving, S minus I. Let's say savings was 100 and the investment was only 80. So the excess saving of 20 rupees was flown out and let's say was invested in Japan. So over here in the capital account, it would be put with a negative sign, outflow, paisa bahar gaya. All right. On the other hand, when there is a saving of only 80 and investment is 150, that means domestic savings are not adequate enough to cover for the investment. So domestic savings are not adequate to cover for the 150 investment. So for this, the 70 rupees has to be taken from outside. So you have to call the foreign lenders and the foreign investors to invest in you. So this would be called as the foreign FDI, foreign direct investment. Either it could come as a loan or it could come as an equity investment. 70 rupees will be coming from outside in India. So this will be called as in capital account. It will be recorded as an inflow. Inflow means plus. So when the foreign money is coming in, you are receiving the money, it's inflow of money, it's plus. And in the previous example where savings were more, so the excess saving of 20 rupees went out matlab outflow matlab negative in the capital account. Any doubts between the saving and the investment? Raise hand please. So that's a kind of area which many people ask me, sir, saving or investment kya difference hai? Saving is what people like us save and deposit that in the banking system. And investment is what businesses take a loan from the banking system and invest in their projects. Yes, Vedant.
So can you just show the last slide? What is FDI? Like what is capital minus and a capital?
This one?
Yeah, what is capital?
Savings was only 80 and the investments were 150. So there was a deficit of 70. So that deficit of 70, I requested the foreign lenders and the foreign investors to give me 70 rupees. So the foreign direct investment of 70 rupees come either from foreign lenders like Citibank or something, or from foreign investors. All right. So that is called as capital account mein money has been received. There is an inflow of money which is happening. So it's called as inflow means plus.
What is capital?
In this case, the money was going out. So in this case, the 20 rupees of savings was going out. So in the capital account, there was an outflow. Outflow matlab negative.
So what is a capital account?
I'm going to cover that. I'm going to cover that in a while. Current account, capital account, I'm going to cover that in a while. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, Hriday.
Sir, if I deposit money into an FD, will that be counted as a saving or?
Yes, it is savings.
And if I deposit money into an... Okay, and what if I deposit money into an insurance scheme or something like that?
So in that case, if see, understand, for calling something as an investment, it should be income generating. I repeat, for calling something as an investment, it should be income generating. All right. So LIC, etc. are all your saving products, are your savings. All right. So I'll take your questions in a while. So now, whether you calculate GDP by income method or whether you calculate GDP by expenditure method. So whether you calculate GDP by X method or Y method, whether you calculate GDP by expenditure method or you calculate GDP by income method, the answer still should be same. It's approximately same. There are some statistical discrepancy which happens, which I will discuss with you later on. But right now I'll assume that they're approximately same. So GDP by expenditure method was C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Consumption is a spending for which there is no income generation. Investment is a spending for which there is an income generation. Government spending ka cost, because government ka jo services hai, they are freely provided. So there's no market values will take it at a cost. Exports are being added because exports are domestically produced. So they get counted in the domestic production of India. And imports are being subtracted because they are not being produced in India. And hence they should not be counted in the GDP of India. GDP by income method, the income could be taxed, income could be consumed, or the income could be saved. There is something more in the GDP discussion which we'll be discussing later on. There's something called as national income, there's personal disposable income, etc., which we'll discuss on. And these two methods ka answer will not be exactly matching, but theoretically at least they should match. All right, so C plus I plus G plus X minus M should match C plus S plus T. So now I'm gonna do some mathematical adjustments. I'm gonna cancel C on the both side. All right, so I'm just canceling the C on the both side. So I'm gonna take I and S on one side. So let me take the I on the other side. So let me just take this I on the other side. So it becomes S minus I. And you know what is S minus I. If S is more than I, there is excess of savings. I repeat, if S is more than I, the previous example, when S is more than I, then the excess saving, what happens to that excess saving? Excess saving goes out, and in the capital account, it could be called as outflow. Outflow matlab negative. And if S is lesser, I is more. Savings are lesser, but the investment is more. So for the funding of those investments, we need money from outside. So we'll borrow from foreign lenders. We will ask foreign equity investment. So that's FDI, like this. 70 rupees came from out. So this is called as capital account. I know we have not yet covered capital account. We will cover capital account in a while. So that this is called as capital account. Then what I will do is this T, I'll put it on the other side. So there, here you have G. So it will become G minus T. So I'll just write over here G minus T. So let's focus on G minus T. G is the spending of the government. That is a kharcha of the government. And T is a tax collection of the government. Government collects two types of tax, and I believe everyone will know what are the two types of tax that the government collects. They are direct tax and the indirect tax. The direct and the indirect tax, the direct tax, the income tax. Is it only the individuals that pay income tax? This is the, I'm a little surprised when I got this question from one student. So I just want to clarify. The direct tax is not only paid by individuals. The companies का जो tax companies pay करती है उनके profit के ऊपर, that's also direct tax. So income tax, which is applicable on anyone who generates income, be it a salaried guy who generates salary income, be it a business guy who generates a business income, or be it a company who generates income, all the income would be taxed. So that is called as the direct tax. And then there is an indirect tax, which is applicable on the goods and the services that we consume. So products that we consume, the services that we avail, uske upar tax is called as indirect tax. Then apart from that, there are 100 tax, the toll tax, there is an excise. So there are lots and lots of other tax. All these are indirect tax. All right. So all these tax collections and the government expenditure. If government collects a tax of 100 rupees and they spend 90 rupees. If government collects a tax of 100 rupees and they spend only 90 rupees, so 10 rupees is a saving for the government, which is called as surplus tax collection. Tax collected was 100, but they are spending only 90. I repeat, tax collection was 100, but they are spending only 90. They are saving 10 rupees. So 10 is the fiscal surplus. I repeat, 10 is the fiscal or government surplus. On the other hand, if the tax collection is 100, but the spending is 120. I repeat, on the other hand, if the tax collection is 100, but the spending is 120, then 20 rupees के spending के लिए हमारे पास tax collection ही नहीं है. Tax collection was only 100, but government is spending 120. So जो 20 rupees है, that's called as deficit, fiscal deficit. Now you may ask a question कि अगर government 100 रुपए का tax collect कर रहा है, तो 120 का spending कैसे कर रहा है? How is government spending 120 when they are collecting tax of only 100? Answer of this would lie in our own habit. If I am getting a salary of 1 lakh and in a specific month I need to do spending of 1.5 lakh. If I earn a monthly income of 1 lakh and I want to spend 1.5 lakh in a specific month, so how will I spend that extra 50,000? How will I spend that extra 50,000? Simple question hai. 1 lakh is my income, but in a specific month, I want to spend more than 1 lakh. So how will I spend that more than 1 lakh? By swiping the credit card or by taking a loan from a friend of mine. Right? So either by swiping a credit card or by taking a loan from a friend of mine. So similarly, when government collects a tax of 100 rupees and wants to spend 120 rupees. I repeat, similarly, when government collects a tax of 100 rupees but wants to spend 120 rupees, then for the extra 20 that the government has a deficit, which we call it fiscal deficit, government will take a loan from its friend. And the friend of the government is State Bank of India, Punjab National Bank, ICICI. But State Bank of India says, "No, I don't want to give a loan to government. There are other better opportunities. I want to give a loan to Reliance TCS. Government ko kaun loan dega?" If SBI does that, then government calls RBI. All right. So Shaktikant Das will put a kind of a notice that you have to give loan to the government. Whatever deposits that you have, uska some percentage, which is called as your SLR, would be the loan that you have to give to the government. So which is called as government bonds. So government bonds is nothing but the loan given by the banks to the government. Compulsorily, because it's the rule of RBI. So government calls RBI and says कि हमें loan चाहिए. Please ask, not please, do ask the banks to give us a loan. So SLR would be increased from 23, statutory liquidity ratio by the SLR would be increased, and hence it will be compulsory for the banks, SBI, ICICI, Punjab National Bank, etc. to grant the loan to the government. So will government get a loan and then government will be able to bridge that deficit. All right, so that's called as government debt, which we'll discuss later on when we discuss the fiscal policy. Okay, so coming back over here, that G minus T is called as fiscal account, government account or fiscal account. And X minus I we already discussed, that's trade account. So in this equation, we see 3 accounts: X minus M trade account, S minus I capital account, and G minus T fiscal account. All right. I'll just write that equation one more time. S minus I, that's there on one side, that's there on the right hand side, and that's equal to G minus T plus X minus M. Okay, so the first part of the discussion of economics ends over here. Although in GDP there is some explanation which I want to still give, which is called as national income, personal disposable income, statistical allowance, statistical discrepancy, which I'll talk about it in a while. I'll talk about it later on. From here, the part 2 will start, which I am not taking it right now, which is called as ISLM curve. Investment saving, IS, LM, liquidity mobility curve. All right, this part is covered in your syllabus. And let me just tell you, this part 1 was covered in your syllabus in the chapter of reading number 14. And this was it, model number 14.1, GDP, sum of value and value added at each stage. I mean, final value and the value added at each stage. I'm not yet covered nominal GDP and the real GDP. I'm going to cover that. I'm going to cover that today only. And this was that C plus I plus G plus X minus M. As I said, I didn't cover capital allowance, national income, etc. I'm not yet covered that. C plus S plus T. And that's where it ends. Okay, so model quiz 14.1. But yes, I have not yet completed that complete module. I have not covered nominal GDP. I have not covered real GDP. I'll cover that after the break. Uske baad jo module, next module hai, that I will cover it later on. So as I said to, I think Ruchit, that it becomes a little bit monotonous if I continue with only one part. And hence I have to bring a mix of 2 parts. So maybe after the break, I'll be completing that nominal GDP and real GDP, which was pending. And then I will be starting with currency. All right. So 8:13, we'll start at around 8:17, just 4 or 5 minutes of break. And after that, we'll finish the nominal GDP and the real GDP. And after that, we will be starting with the currency. All right. So before the break, I was discussing that I was missing out on the nominal GDP and the real GDP wala part. So I'll cover that nominal GDP and the real GDP wala part right now. So let me just lower all the hands. All right. And now let me explain what is the concept of nominal GDP and how is that different from real GDP. So what is GDP? GDP is nothing but the market values of goods produced. So again, system has a little bit of an issue. What happened? It has become a little slow. Yes, Chaitali, it was reading number 14, and I'm covering that reading number 14 only right now. Right, she's saying, just tell me the reading number. So yes, it was reading number 14. All right. So where was I? Yeah, nominal GDP and the real GDP. So before that, I was at the real GDP. I'm sorry, I was at the GDP. So GDP is nothing but the market value, which is nothing but the price of the goods produced in that specific year. So if I'm talking about the GDP of 2019, then is the prices of the goods produced in 2019. All right. So prices, which prices should take? Obviously, prices of that year. So whichever year you are selling the product, you need to take the price of that year. So price of 2019, that is, if you are producing the product in 2019, then you should take the 2019 ka price. So this is what is called as a nominal GDP. I'll talk about it. What is the problem of this? Why is GDP used? We discussed that GDP is a measure of economic activity. So you need to compare the GDP of the current year with the GDP of the past year to see whether the economic activity in the country is expanding or contracting. So current year GDP vis-a-vis last year GDP. If the current year GDP is higher than the last year, then the economic activity in the country is expanding. And if the current year GDP compared to the last year GDP is lower, if the current year GDP as compared to the last year GDP is lower, then the economy has contracted. Okay. So basically you compare the current year ka GDP with last year ka GDP. And if this is contracted, then we say that the economy is contracted. And this is what has happened in the first quarter of 2020, where the GDP had contracted by approximately 20%. And this was something which was always hidden from the Indian media, which was so busy with the suicide of actor, day in, day out, and so busy with temple, etc., etc., etc. So this major concept where the GDP of India had contracted as compared to the last year GDP, yes, there were reasons. There was a lockdown. Yes, understand there's a reason, but this was something which Indian media has completely put into dustbin. All right. So basically we need to compare current year GDP with the last year GDP. So now let's look at a case where I'm gonna get you what is the problem of direct comparison. So I'll help you out with the problem of the current of the measure of the GDP. So let me say that the GDP, the country makes only two products. Let's say onion and potatoes. Bad example, I know, but okay. In 2018, there were 100 kgs of onion and there were 400 kgs of potato that were produced. All right. And their prices, let me look at the prices. The price in the 2018 was, let's say onion ke liye, let's say it was 2 rupees per kg. I know it's quite expensive than that, but I'm just taking it for easy calculation. And for potato, let me take it as 1 rupee per kg. All right. Yes, I'm sorry for the Jain students. Shreyansh is saying I'm Jain, okay. Fine. So the GDP of 18, the GDP of 2018 would be the market values of goods produced in 18. All right. So 100 kg into 2. So that's 2 rupees per kg. That's 200 rupees. And 400 rupees, 400 kgs into 1 rupee per kg. So that's 400. So 100 into 2, 200, 200 plus 400, 600 rupees was the GDP of India in 2018. 100 kgs at 1 rupee, sorry, 100 kgs at 2 rupees, that's 200 rupees, and 400 kgs at 1 rupee, that's 400. 200 plus 400, 600. All right. Let me go to 2019. So 2019, the onions produced are still 100 kg and the potatoes produced are still 400 kg. So technically, the production has not changed, neither for onion nor for potato. The production is absolutely unchanged. If you look at the prices of 2019, the prices of the 2019 is for the onion, the price has increased from 2 rupees to 2.4 rupees. And for potato, it has increased from 1 rupee to 1.2 rupees. So let's calculate the GDP in 2019. $100 into 2.4, that's 240. And 400 into 1.2, that's 480. 100 into 2.4, that's 240. Plus 1.2 into 400, that's 480. That is 720. So the GDP of 2019 is 720. Now look at it, what is happening. If I compare the GDP of 720 with the GDP of last year 600, it looks like the GDP has increased. 720 compared to 600, the GDP has increased. So it kind of gives a feeling that the economic activity has increased. Because as the GDP has increased, the economic activity, GDP is a measure of economic activity. So as GDP has increased from 600 to 720, it gives a feeling of economic activity increasing. But truly, if you look into the actual numbers, 100 kg onions last year, 100 kg onions this year. 400 kg onion last year, 400 kg onion this year, actually economic activity is unchanged. So major problem of the current version of GDP which we are discussing is that it is taking current prices. That is, it's taking the prices in the year of production. So what happens is that even if the production is not increasing, but just the prices are increasing, because of that, no change in production, 100 kg and 400 kg last year, 100 kg and 400 kg this year. But just because the last year production was multiplied by last year price and the current year production was multiplied by current year price, this practice of multiplying the production by the specific year ka price is leading to this problem that the production may not increase, but just the price may increase, and hence it gives a false sense of economic activity. Actually, the economic activity has not increased over here. What has happened over here is there is an inflation. So the GDP has been impacted, GDP has been affected by the inflation. So it's not economic activity going up, it's the inflation because of which the GDP looks to be higher. So this version of GDP is not used in the real world. That's called as nominal GDP. So this is not used in the real world. So what is used in the real world? You take the production of that year. So for example, I'm looking at GDP of 2018. And if I'm looking at GDP of 2019, then I will take the production of that year. All right. So production we denote it like Q. Quantity produce, QP. Quantity produced in 2018 and quantity produced over here for 2019. And then we do not multiply it by the price prevailing in 2018 for GDP of 18 and price prevailing 2019 for GDP of 19. We do not take it. We do not take the prices of that specific years. We take the prices of a year for that product which was prevailing in some historical year, which is called as a base year. Now, how do we say that this is a base year? There is a little bit of theory to that, which we'll discuss later on. So some historic year could be designated as a base year. So let me say the base year was designated as 2010. So in that case, we'll take the price of 2010 for both the GDPs. All right. So I'll go back to the previous example and I'll give you additional data over here. The prices of the onions in 2000, prices of onions and potatoes in 2010, well, let's say 0.5 and let's say 0.4. So now let me calculate the real GDP of 2018. Let me just keep the nominal GDP as it is. Let me not disturb it. And let me write the real GDP below that. Okay, so I'm going to calculate the real GDP of 2018. So how will I calculate that? Let me highlight the relevant numbers. I'll take the production of that onions in that year and potatoes in that year, and I'll multiply it by the prices not of that year but the prices of base year, which is 0.5 rupees for the onion and 0.4 rupees for the potato. So 100 into 0.5, that's 50, and 400 into 0.4, that's 160. Yeah. So 50 plus 160, the real GDP of 2018 is 50 plus 160, that's 210 rupees. All right. And similarly, let me calculate the real GDP of 2019. So let me look at the production of 2019 now. So the production of 2019 is 100 kg onion and 400 kg potato. Same production, 100 kg onion, 400 kg potato, will multiply by the price of base year, which is 0.5 rupees for the onion and 0.4 rupees for the potato. So 100 into 0.5, 50, 400 into 0.4, 160, 50 plus 160 is same 210. So now you can look at it that the GDP current year is 210, GDP past year is also 210. There is no change in the economic activity. And which is true. Onions are still 100 kg, which was the quantity produced in last year also. Potatoes are still 400 kg, which was the quantity produced last year. So there is truly not any increase in the economic activity, and the real GDP is correctly looking at that. The real GDP is unchanged, and its real GDP is indicating that there is no change in the economic activity. So to summarize over here, I'll just summarize that if you look at the real GDP change, that is, you compare the real GDP of the current year vis-a-vis last year, then you get to know about the economic activity, the true economic activity. So you get to know about economic activity. All right. And if you compare nominal GDP of the current year vis-a-vis the last year, then you get two things combined. You get economic activity and inflation ka impact together. And it's not possible for you to say कि इतना ये जो nominal GDP current year versus last year है कि let's say current year was 20% higher. So out of that 20%, 15% is from the economic activity and 5% from the inflation. You cannot say so. So that's a major problem with the nominal GDP, that it gets affected combinedly by the economic activity as well as the inflation. Whereas real GDP is impacted only by the economic activity. अब थोड़ा सा clue आ सकता है? Nominal GDP gets impacted by economic activity and inflation. Real GDP gets only impacted by the economic activity. So if I take a ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP, where real GDP gets impacted only by economic activity and nominal GDP gets impacted by economic activity and inflation. So not exactly like a mathematics, but ठीक है, ये वाला and ये वाला cancel हो जाएगा, बचेगा inflation. So the ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP could be used to measure the inflation. I repeat, the ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP could be used to measure the inflation. By the way, inflation is not only measured by this ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP, it's measured by various other things. So it's measured by something called as consumers price index, sometimes wholesalers price index, sometimes producers price index, sometimes last purchase index, sometimes purchase index, sometimes Fisher index, sometimes headline inflation, sometimes core inflation, sometimes demand inflation, sometimes supply inflation. There are a lot of measures of inflation. I repeat the names: last purchase, purchase, Fisher; demand side, supply side; headline, core; CPI based, WPI based, PPI based. These are all the ways in which you can estimate the inflation, or you can say the inflation in the economy is this much. This method, where the nominal GDP gets impacted by economic activity and the inflation, divided by the real GDP, which gets impacted only by the economic activity. So economic activity get cancelled. What remains is only inflation. This is called as GDP deflator ratio. So the ratio of nominal GDP to the real GDP is called as GDP deflator ratio. Let's see how does that measure inflation. So let's go back to our example and let's calculate the GDP deflator for the year 18 and for the year 19. All right. So let's calculate a GDP deflator for year 18. So let me write over here GDP deflator. I'm not able to write that properly over here. Okay, let me write over here GDP deflator for 18. So it's going to be ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP. How much is that? 600 divided by 210. Let's calculate that. 600 divided by 210. So that's 2.86 approximately. All right. And let's calculate the same for the 2019. 720 divided by 210. So let's calculate 720 divided by 210. So it's 3.43. So let's look at the change in the GDP deflator, 2.86 to 3.43. What is the change? How do you calculate change? Ending minus beginning by beginning. So 3.43 minus 2.86 divided by 2.86. Ending 3.43, beginning 2.86. So 3.43 minus 2.86, sorry, 2.86 divided by 2.86. The inflation is approximately 20. And that's what you can look at the change in the price. Look at the change in the price. 2 rupees to 2.4 rupees is approximately 20%. 1 rupee to 1.2 rupees is approximately 20%. That's what the GDP deflator is indicating. I repeat, I calculated nominal GDP to real GDP ratio for 18. Nominal GDP 600, real GDP 210. 600 upon 210, 2.86. One more time. 600 divided by 210, that's 2.86. And similarly, 720 upon 210, that's 3.43. And then I looked at the change from the 2.86 to 3.43. Let's look at the change. 3.43 minus 2.86 divided by 2.86. It's coming out to be approximately 20%. That's what the GDP deflator measures. So how do you calculate inflation as per this measure? The inflation would be nothing but the percentage change in the GDP deflator. All right. Okay. So let me just write some things and then I'll ask you a few questions on that. Okay. So base year is, let's say 2015. There's a lot of theory about how do you say that this is the base year, which I'm not covering right now. So let's say base year is 2015 and I want someone to tell me how will I calculate nominal GDP of 2015. Which quantity produce and which price. Okay, I'll select some of you randomly. Yes, Aditya. Which quantity produce, which year quantity produce and which year ka price?
So the quantity produce of current year and price of 2015 base year.
Okay, let me just say nominal GDP of 2018. Okay, I'll just change it. Nominal GDP of 2018. So quantity produce of which year?
2018.
All right. And price of which year?
2015.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
It's nominal GDP.
Okay, sorry. It is in real GDP 2015. Nominal GDP it will come 2018 itself.
Price of the year even the goods are being produced, so that's 2018.
Yes, sir. Yes, sorry,
right?
sir.
And okay, fine. Okay, I would want someone to tell me the real GDP of 2018. All right, Hriday, can you tell me which year quantity produced, which year price?
Quantity produced in 2018 and the price in 2015.
Price in 2015. Because it's a real GDP, so you take the price of base year. All right. Okay. So good. So now I'll just ask you some follow-up questions. So I'll continue with this. Base year is 2015. All right. So I'll ask you what is nominal GDP of 2015. Okay. So let me enable someone. Neha, what is nominal GDP of 2015? You're not audible. All right. Tanuj, what is the nominal GDP of 2015? Sumedh, what is the nominal GDP of 2015? That's my last try. Yes, Sumedh.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Nominal GDP of 2015.
Yeah, quantity produced in 2015.
Quantity produced of the current year, which is 2015, multiplied by price of
2015 itself.
that is price of current year, which is 2015.
Yes.
All right. And tell me, what is real GDP of 2015?
Quantity produced in 2015.
Quantity produced is always for the current year, which year the GDP you are calculating, and price of
Base year 2015.
base year. And what is the base year over here?
2015.
So if you look at it carefully, if I look at for any other year, the answer for the nominal GDP and the real GDP would be different. Look at it for any other year, the answer for the nominal GDP and the real GDP would be different. Quantity produced same hai, lekin prices are of different year. Here the prices is of current year and here the prices is of base year. So over here, if I take a ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP, I will not get 1 as answer. I'll get some other thing as answer. Like could be more than 1, could be less than 1. Depending on price of 2018 is higher or lower. If this is higher, then the answer would be more than 1. And if price of 2018 has become lower, if there's a deflation, then the answer will be less than 1. All right. But if I look at for the nominal GDP and the real GDP of base year, which is 2015 only, then the answer is exactly same. Quantity produced for that year multiplied by price of that year is nominal GDP, and quantity produced for that year multiplied by price of base year, which itself is 2015. So if I take a ratio, it's exactly going to be same, and hence the answer would be 0. Numerator denominator gets cancelled, so the answer will be 0. All right. Karthik, am I right? Numerator denominator gets cancelled, so the answer would be 0.
No, sir, I guess 1.
Good. The answer is not 0. I deliberately said that the answer is not 0, so the answer would be 1. So the GDP deflator ka answer would be 1 in the base year. I repeat, GDP deflator ka answer would be 1 in the base year. And in the later on years, like in 2018, the GDP deflator ka answer could be greater than 1 if the prices of 2018 have become higher. That is, there is an inflation in the economy. Or if the prices of 2018 have become lower, there's a deflation in the economy, reducing prices, which is the problem in the Japan, by the way. So in that case, lower in the numerator would mean that the GDP deflator would be less than 1. All right. So just take this in the your mind, known as thing in the mind. The GDP deflator would always start with 1 value in the base year. In the base year, nominal GDP and real GDP are ditto same, and hence nominal GDP to real GDP would be 1. And in the subsequent years, if the prices are rising, the GDP deflator would go above 1, and the prices are falling down, then the GDP deflator will go below 1. So if you see GDP deflator ka value coming below 1, then you can say that in the economy there has been a deflation, the prices are going down. And if you see GDP deflator ka value above 1, then you can conclude that there has been an inflation in the economy, the prices are rising. All right. We'll discuss few more questions on this, but before going ahead, I just told you that you look at inflation as a year-on-year change in the GDP deflator. Like I said to you, GDP deflator ka value in, let's say, 2019 was 1.32, and in 2020 it was 1.53. So how will I calculate inflation of 2020? I'll just enable someone. How will I calculate inflation for 2020? We calculated that previously. How do I calculate that? Okay, let me enable Tej. Tej, are you there? So Tej is not there. So let me enable Tejasvi. Yeah, Tejasvi. How do I calculate inflation for 2020? Is the change in the GDP, percentage change in the GDP. So how do I calculate that? No response from her. Okay, I'll take Sri Ganesh. Or Sneha. Okay, Sneha. Yes, Sneha. Or Sonam. Sonam, no answer. Bad guys, be attentive. Yes, Farzeen. कोई तो आंसर करो यार. Although it's going to be just one set. Kimaya. Yes, Kimaya, go on. But you guys are really bad. You guys are not answering. put me off. All right, fine. I'm disabling. Ending minus beginning by beginning. So ending is 1.53, beginning is 1.32, ending minus beginning by beginning. So 1.53 minus 1.32 divided by 1.32. I tried with 5 guys and they were not answering. Bad. 1.53 minus 1.32 divided by 1.32. So the inflation figure is 15.91%. Right, 0.1591 means 15.91%. So generally you'll be asked to calculate inflation on a year-on-year basis. However, very rarely, sometimes you are asked to calculate inflation on a multi-year basis. So for example, you could be given GDP deflator ka value in 2016 and 2020, and you have been asked to calculate what is the 4-year ka inflation. All right. So let's say 2016 ka GDP deflator is 1.64. And here it is 2.82, and you have been asked to calculate the GDP. You have been asked to calculate inflation figure over a period of 4 years. Generally, inflation ho ya interest rate ho, when they are calculated over a period of like multiple years, they are generally expressed on a per annum basis. You cannot say there was a 70% inflation for 4-year period. You generally don't say inflation was 70% for 4 years. You don't say like this. You generally say in the period of 4 years, the inflation was something like 19% per annum. All right. So over a period of 4 years, every year on an average, there was an inflation of 19%. So when there's a multi-year period, you cannot do ending minus beginning divided by beginning. I repeat, here, there was 1 year period. So for 1 year, you could do ending minus beginning by beginning. Here it's a multi-year period. So over here, you cannot do ending minus beginning by beginning. So what you need to do is you need to do that compounding. So you need to take this 1.64 ahead at a rate of inflation, which you don't know. I hope you are able to recollect your school days or your college days while compounding. P into 1 plus R raised to N, that's equal to your future value. So here P is your 1.64. R is your inflation rate, which you're trying to calculate. And N is the period of 4 years. 2016 to 2020 is a period of 4 years. And the future value is 2.82. 1.64 taken ahead, that is 1.64 compounded, that is 1.64 into 1 plus I, instead of 1 plus R, 1 plus inflation rate raised to 4 equal to 2.82, and we'll to solve for that I. So let me take the 1.64 on the other side, so it becomes divided by 1.64. So 2.82 divided by 1.64. All right, so this 1.64 is gone on the other side. And now this raised to 4 will go on the other side and become raised to 1 by 4. All right, so how do you do that? You need to press this key raised to. For those who are seeing the financial calculator for the first time, do not get panic, etc. You'll get used to it. So you just need to press raised to button. I have sent you for the May 21 guys. In case you're already enrolled, I have sent you that how to use a financial calculator wala video. And if you haven't enrolled, just contact me. I'll send you the financial calculator video. It's there on the YouTube page. So it's raised to bracket open 1 divided by 4 bracket close equal to, and then this 1 plus will go on the other side and become minus 1. So that's minus 1. So inflation is 14.5% every year. I'll repeat, 2.82 divided by 1.64. I repeat, 2.82 divided by 1.64 equal to raised to bracket open 1 divided by 4 bracket close equal to, and then do that minus 1. All right, so that's 14.51% inflation. Such kind of questions are not really likely to come in the economics. They're more likely to come in the subject of cons and the portfolio management. Generally in the economics, we'll see questions like this. 1 year ka inflation. But multi-year ka inflation generally would come in cons and portfolio management. All right, so let's look at few questions from the textbook. By the way, sometimes GDP deflator would be multiplied by 100. So for example, it's nominal GDP. divided by real GDP for the same year, and sometimes it's multiplied by 100. I mean, generally it's not multiplied by 100, but sometimes it's multiplied by 100. So I'll take a question from the textbook on the nominal GDP. All right, so just look at that question. I'll just copy it till the time. First question only. Quite simple. That 20x2, you can take it as 2012. CFA has been, I mean, sorry, the Shveders has been stupid at times by using that X. You could have directly used the years instead of writing 20x2. So GDP in 2012, let's say GDP in 2012 is 1.80 billion at 2012 prices. So GDP of 2012 calculated based on 2012 prices. GDP of 2012 calculated based on 2012 prices. What GDP is this, Ayush? GDP of 2012 calculated based on 2012 prices. What GDP is that? That's nominal GDP. Good. So the nominal GDP of 2012 is 1.80 billion. All right. And what is, Ayush, the 1.65 billion? Ayush, what is 1.65 billion?
Sir,
which GDP is it? 1.65 billion?
Phase of the current year.
It's the GDP of 2012 only. It's the GDP of 2012 only, but calculated using 2001 prices. So probably 2001 is a base year which they have clarified over here. So the 2001 prices means base year prices. So GDP of 2012 calculated based on the base year prices would be called as Ayush. The GDP of 2012 calculated based on the base year prices would be called as?
Sir, real.
Good, real GDP. All right, so we got a nominal GDP, we got a real GDP, and you have been asked to calculate GDP deflator. Just divide it. All right, so billion cancel, and 1.80 divided by 1.65 is the answer. All right, so billion will get cancelled, and the answer would be 1.80 divided by 1.65. So the answer would be 1.09, or sometimes you may have to multiply it by 100 if the options which are given to you in the exam are, let's say, 109, 115, and 117. Then it's like multiplied by 100, so the answer is 109. It depends on the options ABC. So it's 1.09. Let's confirm the answer. So over here they are multiplied by 100. It's not always that it's going to be multiplied by 100. All right, so next question, please go through it. Nominal GDP was 213 billion in 2016 and 150 billion in 2011. So 2016 and 2011, we have been given nominal GDP. So I'll just write nominal GDP of 2011 is 150 billion, and of 2016, 5 years after that, is 213 billion. I repeat, the nominal GDP of 2011 is 150 billion. That's what I've written over here. The nominal GDP of 2016 is 213 billion. That's what I've written over here. All right. The base year is 2011. That's what they have mentioned over here. The base year is 2011. So in the base year, if I want real GDP, what would be the answer of real GDP of 2011, considering that the base year is 2011? Let me try my luck with Komal. Komal, what would be the answer for the real GDP of 2011 if the base year is 2011? No answer. So first did work out. Okay. Kunal, what is the real GDP of 2011?
It would be 150 billion.
Can you explain how?
Because the quantity and the price is the same in the
Good.
base year.
In the base year, the nominal GDP and the real GDP are same. That's what we had discussed in the I think 2-3 slides back. In the base year, the nominal and the real GDP are same. So 2011 is the base year. I'm just writing B over here. So in the base year, the nominal and the real GDP are same. So nominal GDP is given to be 150. Real GDP would also be 150. All right, let's go ahead. Calculate the real GDP of 2016. So you have to calculate the real GDP of 2016. So this is what we need to calculate. All right, and the GDP deflator for the 2016 is given to be 122.3. So understand that 122.3 is multiplied by 100. So real, I mean, it's actually 1.223. Don't take it as 122.3, take it as 1.223. So basically the ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP, the ratio of nominal GDP to real GDP is 1.223. All right, this is for the year 2016. So 2016 ka nominal GDP divided by 2016 ka real GDP is equal to 1.223. Real GDP is what is being asked to calculate, and nominal GDP is given 213. So take the real GDP on the other side and take the 1.223 on this side, swap this like this. So the answer for the real GDP becomes 213 divided by 1.223. 213 nominal GDP divided by 1.223, which comes on this side. So the answer becomes 174.16 billion. All right. So that's the answer for the real GDP of 2016. Question does not get over there. The question goes on and says calculate CAGR, compounded annual real growth rate of economic output. So they are focusing on real. So you have to focus on real GDP. So they're asking ki 150 billion to 174 billion on a per annum basis. 150 billion to 174 billion on a per annum basis is what percentage growth per annum? That's what they're asking. CAGR, compounded annual growth rate. So on a, yes, it's a period of 5 years. 11 to 16 is a period of 5 years. So they're not asking pura 5 saal ka growth. They're asking pure 5 saal mein on an average, what is the growth rate every year? So you have to do the same way like we did in the previous example. Take the 150 ahead. So that would be 150 ahead. It's compound. Compound means multiply by 1 plus r raised to n, and that n is 11 to 16. That n is 5 years, and that's equal to 174.16. Right? If you don't know the financial calculator, but if you could write this equation, then awesome, full marks. If you are not used to the especially May 21 guys. So those May 21 guys who are not yet okay with using the financial calculator, if you could do this, that's fine. Take the 150 on the other side. So it becomes divided by 150. Then take this 5 on the other side. It becomes raised to 1 by 5. And then we'll take that 1 on the other side becomes minus 1. All right. So 174.16 already there on the screen, divided by 150. All right. Raised to 1 upon 5. So after raised to, open the bracket. 1 divided by 5, close the bracket, and do the minus 1. So the real growth rate of the economy has approximately been around 3.03% per year. 3.03% per year means per annum. All right, so that's the compounded annual real growth rate, and which is what matters. And basically, this is what we call the GDP growth rate of India. When we say GDP of India had gone down by that 19% in the first quarter of 2020, that was the real GDP of 2020 compared to the real GDP of 2019. It was not the nominal GDP comparison of 20 and 19. It was a real GDP comparison of 20 and 19. All right. Here that was a 1 year comparison. Here we did comparison of 11 to 16. So compared to 11, the real GDP in 11 was 150. In 2016, the real GDP was 174. So there was an increase from 150 to 174, which is approximately 3% per annum. All right. Easy tha, I believe so. It was not that difficult. I'll solve few more questions like this from the model quiz. So this was the nominal GDP and the real GDP. So this completes the discussion which I wanted to do. Yes, statistical allowance, personal disposable income, that part is still pending, which I'll take it maybe in the tomorrow's lecture. So I will solve few questions from the model quiz of this concepts, and then I'll take currency. I'll be starting with currency.